I don't know if anybody's gonna be able to tolerate Friday on a Friday. That's a bit corny, isn't it? Well, folks, how are you? I figured I would do a video. I probably should edit the title as a message to. It's a message to all of us, right? And this includes me. Message to us all. Save the changes. Okay, so listen, I got a couple of points I'm going to make, and I'm going to concentrate this one on true crime. And then I'll probably come back sometime in the near future and do one on politics. And then I'll do one on many other topics as well. But why do we hide from the truth? Why is it that people don't want to take the truth and accept the statements that are being made for what they are and then go on to something new? Why is it that we have to add ifs or woulda, coulda, shoulda, or maybes, or look at this over here and look at this over there? And I'm going to let me give you a couple examples. First, I'm going to show you two examples that are unquestionably proven true. One was the Donna I's case. When that happened, myself and a few others, Cletus and some of the other folks, and his maybe one day could be possible wife, Clute Minotti, not to be mistaken as a first and last name or two separate words. It's Clute Minotti is just one word. I think she was on board with this, and I'm positive they were, and there were others, folks. But my Discord doesn't have a wide variety of people that I talk to personally, but they were there at the time. And when the Donna I's case happened, it was, to me, the most obvious statements or the most obvious things that you could draw from that based on the information we had available to us in the public. My understanding from when I first encountered the case was some woman that had medical issues as well as drug issues went missing on a dirt road where she was requested to be dropped off and then showed up several days later deceased. Now, most people into true crime, the majority of you folks, started to attack the hospital. You started to attack the police officer. You started to find people to blame. You started to find all kinds of drama and chaos that was completely unverifiable. We did have facts. We knew that she was discharged at 5:30, and that somewhere like around 7:30 she talked to her kid on the phone. We knew that. We also knew that somewhere later that evening, 11 o'clock or whatever time it was, a police officer dropped her off. It basically what appeared to be a fork in the road that led to her brother's house. And we found out much later, some of them may have been involved with drugs on one of those across the street from her brother's house. But even before we knew that, everybody's screaming that the hospital should never have discharged her. We're ignoring the truth. The truth was she came there. She was brought in through emergency. She was checked and discharged at 5:30. There's no mistake in this. And the verification that there was no mistake or any wrongdoing was that she was on her phone at 7:30 talking to her son, I think it was. No request for help, no complaints that we're aware of, nothing out of the ordinary, just a conversation. And then she remained in the hospital until 11 o'clock or later that night when finally a sheriff offered her a ride home, which she claimed was to get to her brother's house, which she never showed up at, as we knew then. And yet the truth of the matter is, those facts, folks, are the only truths that we could call truth, or the only pieces of data of fact that we could call fact. And what did the majority of you do? You did as I had pointed out in the beginning. You started to go after the drama. You started to create drama. You started to invent scenarios under which the hospital or the police were involved in her demise, that it was their fault. If she's dead, it's their fault. The fact that she's missing, their fault. And you were all wrong. And I mean, look at, if there's 100 of you out here, I mean, 98 of you were wrong on this. And there were just a very few that were pushing back and saying there's no way to verify the claims you're making. Why is what the police officer done a terrible thing? When you're given a ride by anybody and they say, hey, thanks for the ride, drop me off here, you drop them off. Well, the police person should have known better was a lot of your responses. Just shut the fuck up. Accept the information is given and then let time move on, because it always will. And as more information is fed into the story, more and more ease of understanding should start to reveal itself. And in that case, it was clear that the police, that the hospital, that nobody that was actually being pointed at as having a piece in her disappearance or death, none of those people were involved at all. None. Now let's go to the Kansas City 3. Here's another one that proved itself out. I said in the very beginning, the difference between the 3 victims and the survivor was the survivor stayed inside. He didn't go outdoors. And I got attacked for saying that. And everybody wanted to attack the guy that survived because he was some kind of a biologist or something working on stuff for the HIV virus. And you morons by the thousands decided that meant he created some concoction that ended up killing his friends. Unbelievable. It in no way, shape, or form, that crime scene in no way, shape, or form presented itself as a murder. None, not at all. It in fact presented itself as a bunch of guys got together, which they didn't do often, for a game, and they did a little bit of partying, and they apparently, unfortunately, got their hands on something that probably had fentanyl in it, and that was the end result. As crazy as it seems, my advice to you folks is, here's the truth. Don't fuck with drugs like that. And then you won't end up on YouTube being accused of killing your friends. And your dead friends won't be arguing about how impossible it is for a grown man to freeze to death. And the idiocy that surrounded that case, and the arguments and the finger pointing that all you went through. And the truth of the matter was in front of you the whole fucking time. Common sense. It's very uncommon. When you look at the Brian Kohberger case, all of you arguing, he's innocent, he's innocent, he's guilty, he's guilty. None of us will ever know that to be a fact one way or another. But for those of you that refuse to accept confirmable information, everything that's been confirmed completely destroys the argument of the state. Completely. Stalking, not even close. He didn't stalk anybody, electronically or otherwise. Confirmed by the prosecution, confirmed by the judge. His car, in fact, was nowhere near 1122 King Road, and the Elantra they did identify is confirmed to be the 11-13. Brian drives a 2015. Confirmable in court by the people that wrote the PCA. That, in fact, is not Brian Kohberger's car around that property during the times of that crime, making all of those maneuvers, doing the 3-point turn. None of that is Brian Kohberger. And no matter what fact is brought forward, there's a massive amount of you fucking morons out here, sorry, I have to say it, that are incapable and willfully ignorant of accepting the facts as they stand and allowing the situation to continue to develop. And if the facts that have already presented themselves, that are written in stone, folks, there's no question about this, that he wasn't at that house, that they couldn't track him, that they didn't have a cast report when they made out the PCA. There was no way they could have done a cast analysis of his phone because they didn't have his phone. There's so many things. Matter of fact, everything in the PCA has been proven either 100% inaccurate and 100% unverifiable. That's like me saying I saw you at 7-Eleven, but there's no way for me to verify that. There's no way for me to prove that. There's no camera footage. There's no one else there. You're supposed to be at a location that's got surveillance around it, yet my statement is you were there. Well, if it's unverifiable, my statement is unverifiable. Therefore, it can't be used as evidence. You could say it, but everything else disproves your statement. If you're saying I'm saying you're at 7-Eleven and none of the cameras during that time pick the footage you up there, but it picks up all the other people going in and out of the store, driving and getting gasoline. The only person that it doesn't show is you. So how is my statement you were at that store of any use in a court of law? It isn't. Okay. It's a bullshit statement. Right? Whether true or not, it's not valuable. It can't be supported. Okay. And in all of these instances in that particular case, in all of these accusations that were heaped to use to arrest an American citizen and accuse him of 4 homicides, brutal homicides, every single thing that they've alleged in their documents to get these warrants, to make these arrests, every single thing is disproven and or 100% completely unverifiable. It's an opinion, no fact. And yet nobody, a mass majority of you out here will not accept those facts for what they say. You got to say, well, he could have done this, or maybe that, or look at this picture, and look at the Banfield, and look at the fucking grub truck. Listen, assholes. None of that is in the accusatory documents. There's nothing about the Fight Club. There's nothing about the Banfield. There's nothing about the grub truck. There's nothing about jack this, jack me, and jack off. Okay? None of that's in the PCA. None of that is relevant to the truth. The truth that we're able to derive from the data that we're given. That's where you focus your attention. The idea that you're going to solve this crime from your cell phone is insanity. That's where all these rabbit holes and all the avoiding of the truth starts to pile in. And why avoid the truth? I'm going to end with this. Why are we so hell-bent on avoiding the truth, folks? And that's because none of us want to take personal responsibility and be the first to put themselves out there taking responsibility. That's the big issue here. We all should come forward and take responsibility for many things that happen in this country, globally, as a human race. And we are so remiss, we're so terrified to come out and support the truth. And let the words, let the data take us where it will. There is nothing wrong with being wrong. Being wrong is your first fucking entry into learning. You always start from a position of wrong. You started from a position of wrong when you went to tie a shoe, did you not? And you figured it out, didn't you? So being wrong isn't the problem. So why hide from the truth? Why not accept the data that's available for us for what it says? And if in the future could be 10 seconds from now, a millisecond from now, it could be 10 years from now. If in the future, information that contradicts the facts that you've come to understand are contradicted in an undisputable way, just like the facts I've given you on Kohberger are completely undisputed. They're totally supported by the prosecution themselves. The primary investigator admits that the car was an 11 to 13 around that property. It wasn't Brian. Okay? The fact that he didn't stalk was confirmed by the state, the prosecutor's office, as well as the judge. When they did that trial, when they did that hearing for the jury survey. So those are facts. You don't gotta like them, but you can't ignore them or woulda, coulda, maybe, but if you never know. That's not how you deal with data, folks. Unless your whole goal is to avoid truth. And that's really why I made this. Why do we hide from the truth? What horse do we have in the race as to whether Kohberger did it or not? The only horse we should have in that race is fellow Americans, is does the system work? Look at the Giglio case. System didn't work there. Look at the Karen Reed case. System surely doesn't look like it's working there. Look at the Kohberger case. System doesn't look like it's working there. But how many of you are running out there that claim that you're independent thinkers and you're anti-media people and you're supporting the exact fucking people that you say you're apart from? You're trying to avoid. That's why I'm on YouTube. You're hiding from the truth, folks. I do it myself. Again, I'm not any better than you. I'm just a fucking guy that's going to tell us, me included, that we all are fucked up from the floor up, and we all need to start being accountable to ourselves and to the fellow humanity that we live with, whether they got rainbow color hair or their skin tone is green. It shouldn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's the truth. It doesn't matter. And somehow we allow ourselves to get caught by these people that grab our attentions, the Tucker Carlsons, the Joe Rogans, that all of these talking heads on the left and on the right. And we get embroiled in conversations and debates that have no basis in truth. The argument over the Ukrainian war with our money, and we're focusing on the money we're spending, that has got nothing to do with the truth. The money is the end result of the lie that we're avoiding. And the truth is, the Western powers started that war. Period. End the fucking story. That needs to be addressed. But let's not address that. Let's focus on Putin. Part of you think Putin's the criminal, and he probably is, but it's none of our fucking business. He didn't start the war. We did. So fuck Putin. And what about our leaders that started the war? Why aren't we facing that truth? Why aren't we discussing that truth? No, let's get caught up in the argument of how much it cost us and how many houses Zelensky owns and everything but the fucking truth gets discussed. And that happens on every single topic, political or true crime. And that's why I'm comfortable when I ask the question, why do we hide from the truth? When will we start to realize the truth is what we should pay attention to? Because the truth, they say, will set you free. And there is a fucking valid point to be made there. Anyway, this is Friday on a Friday. Tell Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, Russell Brand to kiss my fucking ass with their outrage dealing. And that goes for every one of you streamers that produce and promote and kick all of this bullshit into the fucking mix that creates outrage and drama. You can all go fuck yourselves. And you, the viewer, 5.62 billion of you need a good fucking flick in the head. Jesus needs to save you because there's something fucking going on here where we allow these fucking minions that do everything but talk about the truth control our attention. Have a good weekend.